Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Robert Sports Show. I'm your host, Robert. All right, NCAA Week 12 on the docket tonight. Week 11, I was 23-5 straight up picks, which puts me at 237 and 88 year to date. Against the spread, 16-12. Year to date, 167 to 158. Over under, 19-9, and then year to date, 154 and 171. Overall, about a 57.3% winning percentage. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I'm happy with that. Tonight it looks like we got 22 games on the docket. I was kind of taking a look at the playoff rankings that came out today. Georgia number 1, expected. Alabama's number 2. Oregon's number 3. Ohio State 4. Oregon's loss was to a 3-7 Stanford team. Alabama's loss is to a 7-3 Texas A&M. Ohio State's loss is to Oregon. I don't know how you don't have Oregon above Ohio State, but I don't know how you do it. Because that loss is not good. But yet you have a 5th seed Cincinnati undefeated. Wait, Cincinnati's not part of the Power 5. God forbid they get in the top 4. Then Michigan State, Notre Dame, Oklahoma State, Wake Forest. We have a 2-loss Baylor above Oklahoma. Oklahoma's 13-1 loss, and Baylor and Ole Miss are in front of them. Who was Oklahoma's loss to? Oklahoma's loss was to Baylor. So why would Baylor be? But Baylor's 2 losses. I don't care if the 1 loss Oklahoma is to a Baylor. Baylor's got 2 losses. They need to be behind. This is why, if you go on Robert Sports Show, down at the the NCAA, there is a video I put up. I will share the link right above. It showed how I would realign the divisions. It was a whole new playoff structure. It was 8 conferences, 16 divisions. So your conference title games are basically your division winners. You come down to 8. That's your playoffs. Boom, done. We don't have this, well, this loss is better than this loss. This team looked better than this team, but this team is not a Power 5, but this team is. This team is undefeated, you know. But yeah, when you got this kind of funky stuff going on where this team beat this team, so they should be above them, but they have 2 losses, they have 1. You know, Oregon's loss is not good, but Oregon beat Ohio State, so how could you put Ohio State above Oregon? But Cincinnati's undefeated, but they're not Power 5. Yeah, that's fun times. But yeah, I'll definitely share that link so you guys can check that out. Oklahoma State was the 2nd loss to Baylor, so those are decent losses, but still there's 2 of them. Yeah, I don't know if I can do better. I've been wanting to try. It takes some time to figure that out. All right, let's get through the 22 games we have here on Week 12. We have, first off, we have the Memphis Tigers, who are 5-5, versus the 9-1 Houston Cougars. Cougars are favored by 9.5. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 16.5. Next up, the 9-1 San Diego State Aztecs versus the 2-8 UNLV Rebels. San Diego State's favored by 11. Got them winning, covering, over on the 41. The Charleston Southern Buccaneers is an FCS team. They are 4-5. They're going against the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. The only line I could find for this last night, let me look again, was Georgia by 54.5. Let me see if that's changed at all. I got a couple different sites that I pull these from. Normally this site here I'm on now will update some of these games. Doesn't look like it has. Let's take a look here. Still saying 54.5, and that's all it's giving me. So we're going to do 54.5, and then we're going to do the over-under of 60. So I got Charleston covering the 54.5, and we'll do under on the 60. be like 50-0 or something stupid. Next up, we have the Iowa State Cyclone 6-4 versus the 9-1 Oklahoma Sooners. Sooners are favored by 4. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 61. One of the big games of the weekend, I think maybe the biggest game, we have the 9-1 Michigan State Spartans going up against the 9-1 Ohio State Buckeyes. There are 3 teams in the Big Ten that are one-loss: Michigan State, Ohio State, and Michigan. Now, Michigan beat Michigan State to give Michigan State their one loss. Next week, Ohio State plays Michigan. So, if Michigan, who plays Maryland, if they win, they'll be 10-1. Same way Ohio State, if they win, who I'm picking, they'll be 10-1. So next week will be battle of the 10-1s. Now, if Michigan State wins this week, they're 10-1. Ohio State's 9-2. They face, and then Michigan's also 10-1. If Michigan wins next week, that gives Ohio State 3 losses. Michigan and Michigan State would both be 11-1 at that point. But Michigan beat Michigan State. So this whole Big Ten scenario is going to get crazy. But in this game, Ohio State is favored by 19 at home. That's a big number. I mean, I know it's a home team, but I know Ohio State's scoring 46 points a game, giving up 20 on the average, while Michigan State is scoring 34, giving up 22. I don't see it being a 19-point game. So I got Ohio State winning. I got Michigan State covering that 19, and I'm taking under on the 65.5. Then we have the 9-1 Michigan Wolverines versus the 5-5 Maryland Terrapins. The Terrapins upset the Wolverines. This is all for naught. Then we're dealing with 2 losses. But I don't think that's happening. Michigan's favored by 15. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 56. Next up, the 9-1 Wake Forest Demon Deacons versus the 7-3 Clemson Tigers. Clemson is favored by 3.5. I'm giving that 3.5 to Wake Forest. I got them winning, covering, and I'm taking over on the 56. Next up, the Texas State Bobcats 3-7 versus the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers 8-2. Coastal Carolina is favored by 22. I got them winning, covering, over on the 59. Next up, 4-6 Illinois Fighting Illini versus the 8-2 Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, let me pull up the Big Ten, because if I remember correctly, so yeah, we got the dogfight in the Big Ten East. Now in the West, we have a 2-loss Iowa and a 3-loss Wisconsin as the first 2. And then both teams are 5-2 in the Big Ten. What's Iowa's 2 losses to? Purdue and Wisconsin. So Wisconsin holds the tiebreaker over Iowa. Okay, so if Wisconsin and Iowa finish tied for the Big 12 or Big 10 West, Wisconsin gets it. Okay, so that explains why it's showing Wisconsin above Iowa, because Wisconsin beat Iowa. That makes sense. So, I mean, one of these 2 teams, either Wisconsin or Iowa, will face the winner between Ohio State, Michigan State in the Big Ten title game. Now, whoever gets left out in the East there may make the Final Four, may not, because they'll have at least 2 losses. But even a 2-loss Big Ten team, we've already proven won't get into the Final Four when there's 2 undefeated or 1-loss SEC teams. That has happened in previous years. So I got Iowa winning, covering the 12, over the 38.5. 3-7 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets versus the 9-1 Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now Notre Dame, where are they at in our rankings? No, they're not. Let's see, Notre Dame. They're 8th. Unless there's a bunch of losses above them, I don't know how they get up to the Final Four, because they're independent. It's like they don't have a conference title game. But I got Notre Dame winning here, I got Georgia Tech covering the 17, taking under in the 59.5. The 8-2 Appalachian State Mountaineers versus 5-5 Georgia Trojans. Appalachian State favored by 10. I got them winning, covering, over in the 51.5. 7-3 Arkansas Razorbacks versus the 9-1 Alabama Crimson Tide. The Tide are favored by 20.5 at home. I got the Razorbacks covering the 20.5 and then over on the 57.5. Those half points are killing me on the over-under this year. I've had several in the NFL and in college. It would be like 57 points. It's like, I went over on the 57.5. All right, next up we have the 8-2 SMU Mustangs versus the 10-0 Cincinnati Bearcats. Bearcats are undefeated. I know they probably haven't played as strong a schedule as everyone else, but they're undefeated. They beat everyone in their, and they're scoring almost 40 points a game, 39.2 on the average. And they're getting ready to beat, in my book, they're getting ready to beat a 8-2 team here in SMU. So the Bearcats are favored by 12. I got them winning. The Mustangs covering the 12 and over on the 65. Next up, UAB Blazers 7-3 versus the 10-0 University of Texas San Antonio Roadrunners. Roadrunners are favored by 10. I got them winning, covering it over on the 53.5. They've played a very weak schedule. I've already kind of looked at it, so that's why I know, I'm comfortable. Even though they're undefeated, they're at 22 ranked. I mean, they may be a top 15 team, but teams with 1 losses should be above them. A 3-loss Arkansas, I don't think should be above them, but 3 losses to none, that's a big difference. But the 1 and 2 loss teams, yeah, I can agree with that 100%. Wyoming Cowboys 5-5 versus the 8-2 Utah State Aggies. Aggies are favored by 5.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 52.5. The Virginia Cavaliers 6-4 versus the 8-2 Pittsburgh Panthers. Pittsburgh favored by 14. I got them winning, covering, and under on the 66.5. The BYU Cougars 8-2 versus the Georgia Southern Eagles 3-7. BYU is favored by 20. I got the Eagles covering the 20 and then under on the 58. The 9-1 Louisiana Raging Cajuns versus the 7-3 Liberty Flames. Liberty is favored by 4 at home. As much as I don't want to do that, I have it written down not to do that, but I'm going to change it. I'm taking Liberty to upset Louisiana at home. I got them covering the 4 and then under on the 53. The 8-2 Baylor Bears versus the 7-3 Kansas State Wildcats. Baylor's favored by 1 on the road. I got them winning, covering and over on the 50. 9-1 Oregon Ducks versus the Utah Utes, who are 7-3. Utah is favored by 3 at home. I'm giving that 3 to Oregon. I got Oregon plus 3, and then under on the 59. The 2-8 Vanderbilt Commodores versus the 8-2 Ole Miss Rebels. Ole Miss favored by 36.5. I got Vandy covering, the Rebels winning, and under on the 64.5. And then last, the 9-1 Oklahoma State Cowboys versus the 6-4 Texas Tech Red Raiders. Cowboys are favored by 10.5. I got them winning, covering, and over on the 57. So that is the 22 games for week number 12. If you notice, I did the undefeated, the 1 loss, and the 2 loss. And then hopefully next week we'll do more of the top 5, more of the top 25. Maybe work on some type of ranking system. I have a couple ideas that I've been trying to put pen to paper on, but that will wrap up in NCAA Week 12. Make sure you check out Week 11 of the NFL, Week 16 of the CFL, and if you're a NASCAR fan, check out the Countdown Series and the Champion Profile Series. As always, thanks for watching the Robert Sports Show, and don't just have a great day. Have a spiffy day. Robert Sports Show, your YouTube leader. Sports channel content.